E-scooters, a menace on Britain's streets. Welcome to Mark and Pete. They're quick, quiet, increasingly popular, and sending rather too many people to hospital. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
An e-scooter commuter is quick, but the law is often too slow. So a prosecutor needs to be quicker to pull the plug on wherever they go. Yes. What we're seeing right now is a terrible trend. Many hospitals are seeing more and more children with injuries from e-scooters. Now, ironically, in trauma centres in Liverpool, Manchester, Sheffield, and many other towns and cities, they have said that they have treated hundreds of under 16s with injuries as a result of poor travel on e-scooters. They are becoming a menace in our society. Mr. Pete, first of all, I would like to know whether you think it's worth owning one of these. What do you think of the alarming statistics, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail? But more importantly, should the law now clamp down on fines, but also maybe regulation in terms of actually being able to drive these on our roads today?
The Bible says, Proverbs 22, verse 3, the prudent sees danger and hides himself. The simple go on and suffer for it. No, I don't think I'd want to open these scooters. I would feel extremely exposed on what's effectively a motorized tea tray with a handle. I mean,
Yes.
it's not something that I see as being especially safe. The wheels are just too small to cope with our roads, certainly in the area where I live, um, in England. The roads just have so many potholes that around here, I mean, it used to be a popular place for cycling. I mean, I would say it's dangerous to do that. You've got quite big wheels on your average bicycle. No, these e-scooters, yeah, once you get up to a speed, I would say once you get up to over 5 miles an hour, certainly at 10 miles an hour, if you come off, you're gonna do yourself a serious injury and may well end up in hospital. My only experience, Mr. Mark, is I used to have an electric skateboard,
Oh,
and
okay.
I zipped up and down the prom of the Mersey, in fact, where I used to live. And then one day I thought, "Oh, this is quite easy. This I'll take it on out onto the pavements," and I clipped my hand just on the side of a bus stop that I was going past. Incredibly painful. I came off, I kept running, so I was fine, but I forgot to take my hand off the lever, and the electric skateboard was zipping along at full speed ahead of me. It took me a few seconds when I thought, "Hang on, I'm doing that." Just put it in reverse and it came back to me. But yeah, no, that's with a skateboard. They didn't go that fast. It was less than 10 miles an hour I was doing. These can go faster,
Oh,
and I,
yes.
I just think it's just too dangerous. Often people, uh, if you see someone with one of these e-scooters in town, they're not wearing any sort of protective clothing, and yet a cyclist is expected to. So it's with just the same danger. So something's gone wrong here. They've fallen through the cracks. Maybe illegally, but I'm thinking in our psyche, we're not seeing the danger.
Well, indeed. In fact, the emergency department for many sort of hospitals, doctors are calling for laws to be better enforcing to protect children. Currently, there, ironically, is no legal age restriction,
Mhm.
speed limit, or safety equipment requirement for the estimated 1.2 million people who own a private e scooter. That in
Right.
itself tells you this is basically an accident waiting to happen, surely.
Mhm.
So I think that what could be done is maybe the government could look at this and think either they just ban them completely, or, to your point, that what they have to have is, first of all, they have to have special safety equipment, but maybe a little bit like with any other vehicle, whether it be a car or other, the responsibility of the driver is key. So you have to pass a test. And if you
Mm.
don't,
Yeah.
then maybe what that means is whether
Yeah.
you're an e-scooter driver and or car driver or other, meaning you could face a ban. meaning that if you're not responsible and you're causing accidents, and in some cases there have been fatalities. And this
Mhm.
is where I think that, what needs to happen. Why do we need to wait for more people to be injured or
Mhm.
die? So to me, it's very clear from evidence of the statistics to date, something needs to be put
Yes.
in place. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, is that something
Well,
that can be
yeah,
lobbied?
well, no, I think that is a good idea, because the old cycling proficiency training and tests across Britain got people to at least be able to handle the bike they were on, and something like that could be put in place and made mandatory. Um, I mean, it's interesting that it's the privately owned ones that, they're very common in cities just to be able to hire one temporarily, but the privately owned ones that are mainly the source of all these accidents. Maybe they're because they're faster, maybe they're owned by younger people. I'm not sure, but I believe it's 80% is the stat of accidents that's been recorded in hospital, um, are from privately owned scooters. And it is younger people. I think, right in saying the average age of an injured child was 12 years old. So we're looking at people needing to be trained quite early if they're going to use them, and it need to be necessary. But I just don't think they're a very good way of traveling around town. There's something fun on a skate park. They have they're effectively scooter parks as well these days,
Oh, yeah.
and not good for traveling around the streets.
Well, not only that, of course, you've got the other factor that in Britain, the weather changes quite dramatically.
Yes.
It can
Yeah.
be icy, it can be snowy, it can be bright sunshine occasionally. But the fact of the matter is that you've got that to contend with. And then when you look at our infrastructure, particularly in Britain, it's not exactly wide. And to your point, a skate park is great because it's dedicated and that's fine. But on the open roads, or
Mm.
even on open pavements, they're not exactly well preserved. We have the issue of potholes and many other issues as well. So that in itself adds to a growing problem.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, just to sort of conclude. I know that Detective Constable Steve Pennington from Greater Manchester Police said that he was, again, part of the Serious Collision Investigation Unit and has stressed that these devices are not harmless toys and could lead to horrific consequences when used by inexperienced riders. Well, inexperienced or others, I wonder what our listeners think. Do they feel that these devices are a good idea? Or maybe is it the end of the road for e scooters?